Hi, welcome to Education Roundtable. I'm Tom Salter, and I'm very excited today for our guest to be here, Dr. Brenda Lindsey, who is one of my favorite. Don't tell the rest of the principals, but you're one of my favorite principals. And the reason is just your school is just so much fun to visit. You have got some energetic folks, teachers, and the kids are all wonderful. Well, we're going to talk all about your school over the next few minutes, okay? But thank you for taking some time to be here, especially it's about dismissal time, and I know how principals hate to be out during dismissal time when we're recording this. But anyway, well, tell me a little bit about you. How did you become an educator?
Well, I started out in business, nothing to do with education. Then I went to business ed, and the more I got into it, the more I thought, you know what, I really, really want to be with children, teaching, and started out, luckily, Capitol Heights years ago. Went to Dunbar Raymer, did some other stints across the district, and wound up at Vaughan Road, where I absolutely love.
Now, but you started out as a business education
teacher?
I did. And when did you make the transition to an elementary?
Well, actually, along the way, I noticed that a lot of students had special needs, so I went into special education. And from there, I decided, you know what, I could make a huge difference as an administrator.
You know, it's interesting to me that so many of our principals and even our superintendent, Dr. Moore, started in special education. I guess you learn a variety of tools that make you a good administrator.
I believe so. Each child is different, and that's what they teach you in special education. And of course, it's just practical.
Right. But you have you learn patience, and you learn to listen, and some of the other things that, especially I would think in an elementary school, that would make it important. Well, how did you like teaching in middle school? Because I think it takes a special person. It takes a gift from God to be a middle school teacher or administrator.
Right. When I was there, I was much younger, and I liked it. I loved it. But then when I got into elementary ed, I thought I'd died and come to heaven.
Oh, how wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit about your school specifically. How many kids do you have at Vaughan Road?
Anywhere from 525 to 530, depends, because the children are transient.
Right.
So right at 525.
Let's talk a little bit about kids being transient. You know, that was something that I found amazing when I started working here at these many years ago, that we have students who may spend a month or 6 weeks at one school, and then they transfer to another school still within the district, but sometimes that's a necessity, isn't it?
It is. Of course, there's zoning, and you know, they just get different jobs. They move from district to district. We did a little informal survey last year. We had about 13% of our kids that we'd had from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade.
Wow.
That is all.
Only 13%.
Only 13%.
That's amazing. Well, some of that I think is due to we have military families, and so some of them, they're here for a year or two and then they're gone. But some of it is a reflection of the socioeconomic status that we have. We don't check this anymore because the rules have changed, but when we were doing our free and reduced lunch stuff, we'd have around 70 to 75% of our students were from families who were living at or below the poverty line. And so when a family has financial trouble, they often move around more because they're moving from this apartment to that apartment, or from this apartment to their uncle's house or whatever. Absolutely.
We have a lot of that. And it's real sad because we'd like to keep our children once they're with us, but it's just part of life.
What are some of the issues that come with poverty, especially in the elementary grades?
Well, we make sure that our children, they're all in uniform, of course, but we make sure that this time of the year I go around and make sure they all have coats. And sometimes you just have to watch because there's a matter of pride in there too.
Right.
You want to be sure not to offend anyone. But yeah, coats and clothes. And then, of course, we have the breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner, Tuesdays through Thursdays, for our children, because they may be hungry. We don't know. We have a backpack program to address that. And
let's talk about backpack for just a minute. This is a program that is near and dear to my heart. And Mona Davis, who used to work in my office, she was very, very involved in that. But the idea is what?
Well, I'm not sure my children are getting enough food for the weekend. And if they are, maybe they're not getting the right kinds of food. Not that we give them a great deal of nutritious food for the weekend, but we do make a bag every week, and for those students whose parents indicate a need, we go ahead and send them home something. It's through some of the churches help us, and then our PTO is very active in helping us.
And so you actually put together a little grocery bag with snacks and healthy snacks and macaroni, more or less, macaroni, cheese, and things that can easily be fixed at home. So that's a wonderful program, and it is something that we have district wide. Well, almost every school, not every school, but if you're interested in helping with that, you can give us a call, and we'll be glad to tell you how you can do that, or you could call Dr. Lindsey at
Sure, absolutely.
Because she's always, I'm sure, has more need than she has resources.
We do.
But you do have a big PTA. You have a very involved PTA. Talk a little bit about how important that is.
Oh, it's just one of those things you must have. Last night, as a matter of fact, we had a little meeting, and it was just a fun meeting. Mostly, we did have parent-to-parent partners come in and talk to us about bullying and those kinds of strategies to help our children. And then after that, we had hot chocolate and just mingling and good rapport, singing by the children and making little projects. Heritage Baptist Church also helps with that. They always supply our snacks. And last night they just outdid themselves. So we were so pleased, and the parents seemed to really enjoy it. But it's terribly important. Anything we need, extra funding, just library books, our PTA helps us with.
Well, and of course, every school should have a PTA. Most of ours do. We have a couple who don't, but of some form, PTA or PTSA. And you don't have to have a child in school in order to be a member of the PTA. All you have to do is pay your $5 or whatever it is, and then you're welcome to come to meetings and keep up with things. But it certainly helps the school and helps the staff to know that they're appreciated and have that extra support. Well, you mentioned the church is one of your partners. What about your other partners?
Oh gosh, we are just located in an area where it's very easy for us to have some partners. We have Heritage, we have Evangel right up the street from us. We have the church on the corner, which is Vaughan Road Church of Christ. We have the Alabama Institute for Education and the Arts, which I'm terribly, terribly proud of because we don't have funding for a music or an art teacher, dance teacher. And every week, due to this grant with Randy Foster and that group, we have children, we have teachers come in from the Institute and work with our children.
Randy is wonderful. He's such a talented guy and a really nice guy too. He does a lot of good things for.
Kathy Wright, who used to work with the system, and then a new little lady. She's very young, very good, Liza Cardinal.
Oh, I've not met her. But yeah, Kathy and I are old buddies. But she's a very talented dance teacher, and so that's wonderful. Because especially students who are from lower income families, they may not get some of the exposure that students from middle class and upper class families may get to the arts.
And then that too kind of stifles their ability to get in, say, a magnet school later, if that's something they want to do after 5th grade.
Sure.
So it's wonderful.
Well, it certainly helps because kids who are involved in the arts tend to do better in some of their academic subjects, and they tend to be better behaved as well, don't they? I
never have problems, knock on wood, with a child during art. It just never happens. So they love it. It's wonderful.
Well, tell me a little bit about your faculty.
Oh, I have a wonderful faculty. Some are young, some are older. Some have been there a while, some are brand new to us this year, and we're just excited about all the things that we're doing, strategies that they're using to try to reach the children. This is a very positive year. My teachers are enthusiastic and excited about the good things that are happening.
I know that one of your teachers, Beth Beasley, recently won an award, a classroom teacher award.
Golden Apple.
Yeah.
And she's a wonderful teacher, and that was well deserved.
She's also a pretty good actor.
So I've heard.
Yeah, I've directed her actually in a play. She's really good. Well, talk about how teaching has changed over the years. We've gone from doing lectures to doing what?
More facilitating, more group work. This is something we're having to learn in many cases in my school, because that's the way I taught. You had little desks lined
Right.
up, and you helped the students in that way. But now you have little groups of children, some of them working on the computer, some of them working on independent work. It's just a new way. And you know, now if you hand your phone to a 5-year-old, that child can navigate through that phone
Right.
much better than I can.
Right.
And so now we have to use technology a lot more, and it's just interesting to watch our evolution, I guess, into the technology.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was sit down and be quiet, and I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff at you, and hopefully it'll stick, and then because then you're going to have to throw it right back to me. But I mean, I think I won awards for talking the most in class, and there weren't really awards. But I think if that strategy had been in use when I was a kid, I might have done better.
I probably would have done better too. And then when you get out if you learn that way, you're prone to teach that way. So you have to kind of change your strategies for teaching in the classroom and in the school.
Well, when you teach using these new methods, what are some of the things that the kids get? Like a sense of confidence, or?
Absolutely, and I think it develops camaraderie, which they'll need when they get to a job.
Sure.
Of course, ours are just elementary, but we have to set that basic skill in place. I think they also learn, cooperative working together and problem solving.
Well, you know, it amazes me. So when I first got into education, somebody told me one time that in the 3rd grade, they could predict with great accuracy whether or not that child would ever graduate, and if they would graduate on time, just based on what they were doing in the 2nd and 3rd grade. Tell us a little bit about how important kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade are.
Kindergarten lays the framework, study skills. Kindergarten is not what it used to be. It's more of
no more nap times.
No more nap times, which breaks my heart.
Yeah, mine too. I'm trying to find one right now.
But no, they have to have their reading and math on kindergarten level, the end of kindergarten, and then they 1st and 2nd are dreadfully important. If a child misses things along the way, then of course we have to back up, use our RTI strategies, and try to catch those children up, because 3rd grade is the grade that really, really teaches so much. But if you don't have those background skills, then the child's in trouble.
You mentioned RTI. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, response to instruction. If a child is making D's, F's, or struggling behaviorally, then of course we have to address those needs so that we can get them past it.
Right.
And any child that's making lower grades, we take them before the RTI team, problem-solving team, and figure out ways to help that child move forward.
That sounds scary.
No, it's to help the child.
Okay. So you sit with a counselor maybe?
Well,
or
we have a team.
Right.
Usually it's the child's teacher, the academic interventionist, reading coach, possibly counselor, possibly behaviorist, anyone that we can solicit to help us, and of course the principal's in there, or assistant principal. And
how about mom?
Mom, absolutely. If we can get mom to come up, that's exactly what we want her involved, because she's the first teacher.
Right.
And parents seem to appreciate it.
Well, now that since you mentioned parents, we may have some young parents watching us whose kids are 1 or 2 years old and just starting to think about school. as a elementary teacher, Dr. Lindsey, and principal and administrator and all around wonderful person, talk a little bit about what parents can do to, even beginning as a infant, they can do to help their kids prepare for school.
Well, the first thing they can do is model reading, picking up a book. The child, of course, won't understand your reading or the concept of reading, but if he or she sees mom and dad, opening books, that's the first thing I think, modeling proper behavior, polite behavior, and then reading to the child. The more you read, the more you teach them nursery rhymes. So many of our children come to us now and they don't know nursery rhymes. They don't know little stories. And those kinds of things are so important. So young parents can start to do that even before they're born. Even music, play music for the children.
Yeah.
So.
Any exposure to arts or reading academic stuff. What about things like taking them out to the park?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so important for the children to know that mom or dad, many of our grandmothers,
sure, right.
Even take them places that they need to see, like take them to the park. That's absolutely wonderful. Take them to Shakespeare. There's a museum at Shakespeare that's beautiful for the children.
Right. And they often have activities, I think, for students too, and you can check their website to find out, what they have and when. Well, what about looking for learning opportunities, like at the grocery store?
Oh, absolutely. Let the children help you decide, first of all, what kind of food you're going to buy. When you go to the grocery store, don't let them buy all potato chips and that kind of thing.
Right.
Teach them what a balanced meal is about. Let them help push the cart. Let them help find the cheapest price, depending on the age level.
Right.
And as they get bigger, in the grocery store, for instance, they could figure tax, or they could just practical skills.
Help plan the meals.
Help plan the meals.
How many ounces of this do we need? How many packages of this? And if
let them cook.
Yeah, sure. Well, and if you do that, it also distracts them from the candy aisle and the toy aisle. If you've given them a job, something to do, it never worked with my kids, but I kept trying. I kept trying.
Well, sometimes they're listening more than you know.
Yeah, they are. Well, tell me about being a principal. I mean, let's start with the bad stuff first. What part of your day is the most challenging?
Well, if a child gets in trouble, then of course I have to do the discipline. And I love my kids. Like parents, you hate to discipline your children, but of course you have to.
Right.
And that's the part I don't care for as much. But there's all kinds of good things too. You come in the morning, first thing in the morning, you open the school, and children come in, you get your hugs for the day.
Sure.
So it takes that barometer up.
Sure.
And then from there you make sure they get their breakfast, and then all through the day, observations, visiting in classrooms, visiting with parents. A lot of our parents feel very free to come in and sit with the children. They don't sit right in the classroom, but they sit on the edge.
Right.
And it's just a good environment. It's like our own little community.
And that parent participation helps with a variety of things, ranging from academics to behavior.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really does.
Because if they know we're going to call, and I'll tell them I'm going to have to call your mama.
Yeah.
Well, they know.
Well, and it's not, it may not be as bad as it was when we were kids, because if we knew if they called mama, we were in big trouble. But it's still very important that parents are involved. Well, what do you need?
Always books for our library. We need a new stage curtain. And those curtains are very expensive. I was going to say,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, you're talking $4,000.
Yeah.
And you want to get one that'll last. That's our big need right now. That seems minor, but it's not, because that's where our children perform. It's a little frou-frou sounding, but not really. We can always use, the biggest thing is books. And at this time of the year, it starts to be supplies. because parents have bought at the beginning of the school year, and now by this time most of the supplies are gone.
Right.
And it's, our economy is pretty tough. And some of our young parents, really, single mothers in particular, may not be able to do supplies again at this time of the year.
Right.
And the sales are all in the summer, right before school starts.
Right.
So,
and as we are recording this, it's almost Christmas, so they're focused on
Christmas
presents for the kids and for the family and stuff like that, and a pack of paper and a couple of pens. That's an extra $10 that they're not planning to spend.
Yeah.
As time has progressed, as you've got, how many years?
15 at Vaughan Road.
God bless you.
Yes.
All right. Well, so in the 15 years that you've been there, what has been the biggest change in terms of the school and education?
I guess our children's socioeconomic group has changed with the economy. Lots more single mamas, single dads, and also we're requiring so much from our children that it's a struggle sometimes to meet all those challenges.
Right.
For them as well as for our teachers and for us.
Well, I was actually kidding a little bit about the nap time thing earlier, but that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Recess and nap times and some of the things that we used to do as, especially in the younger grades, that's gone.
It's
and,
gone.
And what have we replaced it with?
Well, that's studying, reading, and math, and just it's almost like a little job every day for the children.
We demand so much more from them, and I know that it makes it tough on parents too, because with homework and all the meetings that we ask them to come to and all those other things, it's time consuming.
It is. It is for them. We give them about 20 minutes worth of reading every single night, and then you usually have something to do for math, sometimes social studies, science. So yes, parents have a job when their children get home as well.
And many of them have also been
and they're
had
tired.
A job all day.
And they may work 2 jobs.
Right, exactly. So. When you think about the state of education as a whole, especially in Montgomery, what do we need to do? What do we need to do to make things better?
Well, property tax being raised comes to mind first of all, because I do need an arts teacher in my school. Other schools need it as well. I do need extra funding for maybe extra textbooks. We are funded by Title I. We appreciate that, but that only goes so far.
Right. And the supplies and other things that you mentioned before. And we are for a system our size, we're the lowest funded in the state. We're at 10 mills, which is the minimum, and even if we doubled that, it would still we still wouldn't get back to the point where we were in 2008. Our budget was $325 million. That was 10 years ago, and now it's less than $300 million. So we're $25 million below what we were 10 years ago, and things have gotten more expensive. Stuff, pencils and papers and everything, insurance for the teachers and everything else cost more.
Right.
And so even a small increase would help, but that's I guess that's for another day. But you need stuff. But I know you have a very active PTA, but could you use more partners and more?
We can always use more partners. There's enough to go around for everyone. Whoever would like to come and work with us, we would certainly appreciate it. We do have St. James readers that come over and work with our little buddies, but
I love that.
I know, it's so
buddies.
good. Little buddies,
so
big
cool.
buddies.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But they only serve a small portion of my population.
Right.
So, mentoring for our bigger children, especially our little boys.
Well, you have a unique, you mentioned your location, being right there on Vaughan at the bypass. You've got all those car dealerships, and you've got the shopping center and some other businesses around. So there are lots of businesses who have the opportunity to be helpful without having to travel very far. And so we definitely want to encourage anyone who has a business or has or lives near Vaughan Road. You don't have to have a kid in school to
No, not
help
at all.
out. You just have to have a desire, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Just a couple of hours a month would be very, very helpful. Something as simple as reading to some of the little buddies, or helping with the canned food drive for the backpack program, or any number of things. I remember several years ago you needed your fence replaced.
Yes.
The split rail fence, which is so cool out in front of the school. If you've driven by there, you've seen it. And you needed that replaced, and you finally found somebody.
Found someone. We were so pleased.
Yeah, but
It took a while, though.
Sure it does. But that one was kind of a specialized skill. It wasn't something that I mean. I looked at it and thought, man, I can't do this.
It was way above me.
Yeah, we had to find somebody who could. Well, I asked you about the toughest part of your day, and you've kind of snuck in some good stuff too, but what's your favorite part of your day as principal at Vaughan Road?
Well, I guess because PTA was just last night, it was so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, just the camaraderie, the children singing, that's just wonderful. But anytime I see a child in a classroom, just all of a sudden the light bulbs come on, and I just love to see it because it's so important.
Well, I know you have a wonderful group there at the school who works very, very hard to make sure that the kids are prepared not only for the day but for the next step, whether that's the next grade level or whatever. But it's also something that we need to keep we work hard to keep our parents informed and helping them understand what we need, and helping them understand what they can do to help makes a huge difference.
It does. I do a lot of those call outs. We're starting to tweet. We're not the tweeters of the city. I know you'd like us to be, but
I'd like for you to do more, but
we're
you
doing
do
it.
good. Yeah.
We're doing it, and we're doing Facebook and those kinds of things. So
What is your Twitter handle, real quickly?
Vaughan Road Vikings.
Vaughan Road Vikings. So follow Dr. Lindsey and her group at Vaughan Road Vikings on Twitter, please. And please follow MPS, and please go to our website. And you can go to our website, engageeducateinspire.org. You can sign up for Twitter, Facebook, and all the rest of the stuff. Thank you, Dr. Lindsey, for being with us today. And thank you for joining us on Education Roundtable from Montgomery Public Schools. We'll see you next time.